to steal an opening, kind of, that Evan had a few weeks ago. I need you guys to pray for me today. Because as soon as we're done recording this podcast on a Sunday afternoon, I have to go to Costco.
Oh no.
Wait, which one?
Oh no. Doesn't matter.
I'm gonna make the extra drive to Guelph, but it's not much better.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah, I avoid the Kitchener one like the plague.
Yeah, no go to that.
Are you handing out car ribbons that I can put on the back of my car? Pray for Brad.
I need to.
What's your color?
Crisco Strong.
It's just beige. It's just a beige shirt.
On a Sunday after, you didn't even go Sunday morning when the average person might still be like lazing around the house. You're gonna go in the afternoon where the entire population is thinking, "Oh, now's a good time to go to Costco."
Yeah, because it usually takes us an hour to record this ballpark, so we'll be done by about 12:30. It takes me about 45 minutes to get it edited and posted, so I'm gonna be walking in there. Right about 1:30, 2 o'clock.
That's a terrible.
That is the worst possible time.
Who chose this?
I did, because I don't have another option today.
Oh, one of the stupid ones, are ya?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm screwed.
I'm Evan. Sorry, I was mid-sip of my coffee.
We couldn't tell. On today's episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, surprisingly, it's only been a short while since our last episode, but surprisingly we have things to talk about. The World Juniors closed last night. Finland and the U.S. played the gold medal game. There's a couple interesting things to talk about there. The Detroit Red Wings had a rather fun game against the Nashville Predators. We're recording this before their game tonight against Washington.
So let's just do our quick analysis right now. Playing the odds. It was bad. Moving on.
Outshot by 400 shots. Wow, is that a record?
Wow, Ovechkin hit 50 today? He came into the day with 30 goals.
And then we're going to round out by just starting to chat a little bit about what's coming in the better part of 2 months, which is the trade deadline. That's going to be the prevailing underlying topic through most of our episodes between now and then, so we thought we'd take a look at a trade bait list, what it means for Detroit, and what to look out for. And then, of course, we'll do overtime and all that jazz, and then Brad is going to go wage war against Costco.
I am going to absolutely run down someone over the age of 60 with my cart today.
I actually don't find that it's... the elderly in Costco are not always the most aware. In the parking lots, yeah, you gotta be like, it's a nightmare. But they're not always the most aware, but they're pretty standard through and through. It's the families with 11 kids who just run across the aisle and back and across the aisle and back, and it's just...
Yeah. And the mom is always wearing a hoodie and a pair of jeans that don't fit, and the dad is literally...
It's a country song, isn't it?
Yeah, and the dad is always wearing head-to-toe Under Armour. Despite the fact it's negative 10 degrees outside, he's wearing shorts and flip-flops, and he's got a backwards hat on with that sunglasses that every baseball dad owns.
What Brad just described is a local. That is what a local is. That is a Loki do. That's a local, and you stay away from the locals. You don't make eye contact with them. You don't engage with conversation. You don't answer any of their questions, because that's how they get you.
Yeah, and let's not forget they've got 4 kids named Braden, Caden, Aiden, and Jaden.
I'm sorry for any of our listeners who's has 4 kids with those exact names. Actually, if you do have 4 kids with those exact names, let us know. We'll send you a prize as an apology.
And a thesaurus.
Yeah. I don't think thesaurus would work for names, but I see what you're doing there.
They understood the joke.
The World Juniors.
They might not have, actually.
Finland is a hockey powerhouse. Legitimately.
They are winning all of the things lately. So,
what is this?
Their 3rd World Junior Championship in the last...
6. I think they said 3 and 6.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And they've had a lot of success at the under-18s, like that. This is a country that's not... It's not like Canada, U.S., Russia, space, and then, Finland. I'm talking Finland is up there. Like, the same way you regard Sweden, the same way you regard Canada, the same way you regard U.S., Finland is there. Winning the gold medal this year, obviously, over the Americans.
And they had a bunch of eligible players still playing in the NHL that weren't there. Like, Christian Vesalainen didn't come over for the tournament. Jesperi Kotkaniemi wasn't there. Like, they were missing a couple guys. So that makes it all the more impressive.
Yeah, they've had, in the under-18s, 2 golds and 2 silvers in 4 years. In the World Juniors, they have had golds in 2014, 2016, and 2019.
Wow.
That is absolutely insane. That is like a...
That's a small country, too.
That's the biggest...
They're basically the GTA.
They're the biggest producer of competent goalies in the history of the world.
Yeah, why aren't more people talking about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen?
He was unreal.
He has been unreal all year. Like, just for reference, if you think he's not a valuable goalie to whatever team he's playing on, the Sudbury Wolves in the OHL, his team this year, has been catastrophically bad for a few years now. They have picked up some players, but all of a sudden this year they're a very, very good team. They were near first place in the Eastern Conference. Luukkonen goes over to the World Juniors. I think Sudbury's played 6 games since he's been gone, and they're 1-5. And somehow he did not get tournament MVP. I am stunned.
Who got tournament MVP?
I think it was Ryan Paling of the States.
Oh.
He didn't even get top
Pales
goalie.
in comparison.
The Russian goalie got top goalie.
Interesting.
And I think it was Morozov got top defenseman also from Russia. Because apparently they vote on the tournament MVP at the first intermission of the gold medal game. Not sarcasm, that's actually what they do.
That is just stupid. You can just do it at the end of the game.
It's such an IIHF thing.
It's so dumb.
It'll take 2 seconds to do it at the end of the game. Boston is going to have a pairing of McAvoy-Vakanainen someday, and that's going to be unreal.
Hasn't Vakanainen even played a bunch of games with Boston this year already?
Probably.
If I'm not mistaken, but McAvoy's missed like half the season with various injuries, so...
Vakanainen was on the ice for, what, like 85% of that game?
Well, Finland essentially was just playing their top 4 on a continuous loop.
Yeah.
The bottom pairing barely plugged in. Well, I mean, when you have Jokiharju too on the other pairing opposite Vakanainen, that's some good depth.
Hey, that's the best hockey he's been playing in all year. That's it.
Could Finland beat the Blackhawks?
Well...
Sorry, I'm just bitter because I had to listen to these "Could Alabama beat the Bills" jokes all fucking year.
You had to listen to that for the last 8 years, Brad. The Bills have been at the butt end of every
We
joke.
made the playoffs last year, Ryan.
It has not stopped people.
You're not wrong.
As a fan of a team that's also at the butt end of every joke, I understand. Hey, the Lions fired Jim Bob Cooter.
I still refuse to believe that's a real name.
Oh, it's James Robert Cooter, but then they had to change it.
Cooter.
Back to the World Juniors. The game was decided, obviously, by a literal last-minute goal by none other than Kakko. Kakko had a fantastic tournament. Everyone else who didn't know who he was, like the level of casual fan who would know who the top prospect was in Jack Hughes, but wouldn't know so far as Kakko, they know now. I've seen so many people going, oh, I can see why some people are saying that he might go first. He looks amazing.
He is, and there's been a lot of comparisons to Patrick Laine, which I would very much like to stop right now.
Stop it, Brad says.
What? He's Finnish?
He's Finnish and he scores goals.
He must be Laine.
He must be Laine. Except for the fact that even if you want to take just the gold medal for reference, they were throwing 17-year-old Kakko out there to kill penalties, key moments in the game, and he was out there in the final minute to defend the one goal lead.
Mm.
So he's the anti-Laine, as he can do everything on the ice, not just score goals.
Not to say Jack Hughes looked bad. I actually think once Jack Hughes came back, I think he looked good. Like
He looked fantastic. He had an assist in the gold medal game. I think he had a point in every game he played. Keep in mind he missed, I think, 3 or 4 games with an injury during the tournament. He looked great.
The U.S. National Development Program is a funny... It provides these funny barometers to how success is measured for players, and sometimes it masks bad players, and sometimes it overstates bad players, and sometimes it's just so, like... I don't really have a great read on it, and I don't think a lot of people do, because if you look at stats, and you're wondering where's all this Jack Hughes hype coming from, and then you look at Jack Hughes in like the average game, you're like, he didn't look absolutely phenomenal out there. It's really a disservice to him because he actually does so much right as a centerman as at the age of like, what is he, 14?
Yeah.
The development program is just so, there's no standardization to it in my mind that allows like casual or even like pretty involved hockey fans to be able to look into it and say, okay, X, Y, and Z might turn out to be A, B, and C. Does that make sense? Was that just drivel? It always is, but more so than usual.
Yeah.
I think it's because they don't play. They play like a whole bunch of different caliber of teams, right? They kind of are just like a touring band of hockey players.
Yeah. They play tournaments. They play USHL teams. They play NCAA teams.
So it's easier when you look at CHL players or specifically players in like the OHL, and they all play each other all the time, and you see the top of the the cream of the crop rise, and it's easy to make inferences based on those statistics. But with this, it's like, well, this week they played a bunch of 18-year-olds, and next week they played a bunch of grown men.
And just to extrapolate Evan's point, look at how we're evaluating Philip Zadina. Didn't have a good tournament, but the sky isn't falling, because playing in a tournament, like a one-off tournament, is different than playing in the AHL, right? Like, his average game against the Syracuse Crunch of the AHL will have more weight in my mind than the entirety of this tournament, as much as this tournament was more of a spectacle and more of a showcase. Like, in terms of what it can actually deliver in terms of information, it's just bizarre. Is there a thought? I don't know too well, and this might just be me being an ignorant Canadian, but with the rise and prominence of NCAA hockey, is there a need for the national development program anymore?
Yes, because it's not just a U18 program. They also have a U17 program, and guys just graduate from one to the other generally. Although Jack Hughes was the rarity. Last year he played about, I think, half the season with the U18s.
Even then, like, doesn't he have like an insane amount of points per games played with that team? Isn't it like more than Austin Matthews?
It's about on par with Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel. The program. It's
the numbers don't lie there, and you passed the eye test too.
Yeah, that's what I like. Even when I've been trying to evaluate Jack Hughes in the games and highlights of his I've watched, I've been trying to just watch his NCAA games to see where he is at relative to a higher level of competition. And spoiler, he's been terrific.
Yeah.
The 2017-2018 season with the under-18s, which he'd spent double the time, or twice as much time as he did with the under-17s, he had 39 points in 18 games. So that's over 2 points a game.
And that was as an underage player.
Yeah. This year, as an 18-year-old...
17.
Oh, 17 still, yeah. 10 games so far, and he has 15 points. So he's dropped to a measly 1.5 per game. It's... I don't know.
He's probably good. But the point is, Kakko's making this a lot more interesting of a conversation. So.
Now, emotional, like, factor in all of your emotional reaction watching that goal, watching the whole tournament, all the hype around Kakko now, everyone's screaming his name. Who do you take first overall? You're the Detroit Red Wings.
Jack Hughes.
Okay.
Because as much as I think Kakko has closed the gap, and even if I don't think he's all the way up to Jack Hughes yet, but I think he's pretty damn close, tie goes to the center. That's my tiebreaker. So if I have them both rated at 99 out of 100, I'm going to pick the center.
Evan?
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Montreal Canadiens will always argue about whether they need a centerman or a winger. But I feel like it's easier to transition a center to a wing if it's absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Than the other way around.
Yeah, and again, I still think Hughes is the superior player because
one tournament doesn't change what the feeling has been about the draft for the past, since the last draft was done. It doesn't change it as much.
The World Junior has done a lot to skew people's perceptions of certain players.
Oh yeah.
A guy has a huge World Junior, like stats-wise, and gets picked 30 spots higher than where he should.
Yeah.
It's
Puff. He was...
That might have been more than 30.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was projected to go first overall all year. That wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's happened. I can't think of a very specific example. And sometimes the World Junior, though, can occasionally do the opposite. It can bring light to a player who's been great all year, just hasn't been getting the attention. The most recent example of that is a couple drafts ago. Nico Hischier was ranked, I think, 16th going into the 16th ranked prospect going into the season. Exploded at the World Juniors, and then people started paying closer attention to him, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Between that and a Nolan Patrick facial injury, he went first overall.
Yeah.
And has been great for New Jersey.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Nolan Patrick and Nico Hischier because they get zero attention.
Yeah, because Elias Pettersson is just...
Yeah, the average person could not tell you how well those guys are developing as number 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah, he sure very well. Patrick, that one's not... He's a fine NHL player, but he's not playing like a second overall pick. I know he's only in his second season, but it's not looking great.
He has 11 points in 34 games this year.
And again, a respectable NHL player for, what, a 19 or 20-year-old, however old he is now?
Yeah.
But that's not the production you expect to see in the second season of a second overall pick.
No. Moving forward, beyond the World Juniors, now that that's done, the Detroit did have one game between last episode and now. It was against Nashville, who very quickly went up 2-0 against Detroit.
Despite at one point Detroit out shooting Nashville 10-0, and then Nashville scored on their, I want to say, third shot.
Yeah. So Nashville had like a 5,000% shooting percentage for a little bit there. So they were up 2-0 against Detroit. Detroit obviously closed the gap. There was a point where Nashville actually had a go-ahead goal that was called back on a successful coach's challenge, funny enough, from Jeff Blashill. I could see why you challenged that. If I'm the referee, I do not see why that goal was overturned.
That was... I understand that it's goaltender interference. It's subjective. The rule is gray. A lot of these calls could go either way if they're pretty close. This one, in my mind, wasn't close. The whole... I think it was Phil DiGiuseppe of Nashville. I think the whole reason he was even in the crease was because Jensen put him there.
Yeah.
All DiGiuseppe was trying to do was take the lane between Howard and Jensen and cut across to the front of the net, as players do roughly 1,000 times per game. Jensen, being an aware defenseman, and I mean good on him, noticed DiGiuseppe coming in, tried to cut off his lane, inadvertently pushed him into the crease and into Howard, and then even once he got separation, he attempted to step out of the crease as the puck ended up going in the net, and they still waved it off. I was angry when I saw Blashill challenge that, because I'm like, there is no way this is getting overturned. And then it gets overturned. And I'm like, oh, sorry, Jeff.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, no, that was plain and simple. That was the wrong call. I've seen much worse in terms of not trying to get out of the goaltender's way. Let go.
Yeah.
Against Detroit.
Yeah.
That was bizarre, and it would probably rob Nashville of a win, truly.
Now, I will say, this is... My opinion is based entirely on the 18-19 standard and not the 17-18 standard. Because we know last year, if you looked funny at the goalie anywhere near the crease, that goal was getting waved off. But then they had the meeting and they said, no, guys, we got to stop calling this so close. So they've been letting the little ticky-tack ones go this year, and that was a ticky-tack one. That was the exact type of one that they would have called last year, that they have made a concerted effort to no longer wave off this year.
Yeah, don't be surprised if there's someone, if there's a call between, upper administration in the NHL and upper administration in the Referees Association. Between the teams as well, because that's the standard that, Brad's right, that's the standard that they want to do away with. I don't even think that would have been the right call under their parameters last year.
Yeah, Howard was barely affected.
No, and even if he was, he had recovered and reset by the time that came in.
Yeah, that was just an asinine call. And even relating back to the World Juniors last night, everybody was losing their mind when USA had Oliver Wahlstrom's goal waved off. Seemingly a lot of people forgetting that the IIHF is a different rule. If you are in the blue, it doesn't matter how you got there. The goal's not going to count. So,
yeah. There's a reason Don Cherry calls European hockey soft. It's pretty much, the rule is always, it's the most strict rules you could possibly have in the IIHF. You can't even finish your checks. Did they trial that this tournament?
They did. They were not enforcing it at all, or else Max Comtois would not have played this tournament.
They ruined it. Dylan Larkin obviously still destroyed that game. Detroit went up 3-2. Nashville tied it with just over a minute left. And in overtime.
This game proved two theories to me that I have noticed with the Red Wings this year in a good and a bad way.
First, relativity. Brad actually has been working on physics on the side. He says he's been working on video editing. It's actually been physics. Brad, tell us about your dissertation.
Yes. So, When the Red Wings are trailing early in a game, they are inevitably going to come back and at least tie the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a known fact. Been proven by every time they've been down 2-0 this year. Another proven fact. Anytime they subsequently take the lead with too much time left, or start with the lead, they are going to blow said lead. Both happened last night. Detroit goes down 2-0, comes back 3-2. Less than a minute left, I think. Nashville ties the game.
It's the bizarre laws of being a Detroit Red Wings fan watching this happen.
Like I said, I'm not really invested in wins and losses at this point this year. I'm more invested in the development of the young players. But if I was invested in wins and losses, at this point, I think I would honestly be rooting for the other team until they scored that first goal to take the lead. And then I would revert back to, all right, Detroit, let's go.
I'm trying to pull up here a list of overtime goals, like the league leader in overtime goals.
Well, Larkin now holds the Detroit Red Wings all-time record with 4 in his season.
Halfway through the season, 4. It's like clockwork. If you count how many overtime goals he's assisted on, and then if you factor in like late game winning goals, Dylan Larkin could be having a flash in the pan, one-off year where like he might not be this skilled or talented ever again. But the way he has gotten Detroit to buy into something. Not even him, just something. Some kind of small success, some kind of small win. This guy is Detroit. Dylan Larkin is the Detroit Red Wings. That C is on his jersey. Zetterberg earned his C before Lidstrom even retired. Lidstrom earned his C before Yzerman even retired. Larkin didn't have that, but he has sure as hell earned it now. We would have thought before the season that he was the right call, but there was a discussion. It's his. He's earned it. He has won, or he is Detroit's new golden boy. And good on him.
This isn't going to age well when Applicators make the captain.
No, it absolutely will not age well.
I hate that that's not a fully sarcastic joke.
No, it's not.
You know, we can't always have nice things. Oh, my mic did the thing again where it goes limp.
And you can maybe hear Brad's dogs upstairs doing their rendition of the Nutcracker.
Because I said Applicator as the captain and something weird happened.
They got rattled. It's you know how dogs can just sense like impending natural disasters. Mm-hmm. Kind of that.
Dylan Larkin leads the league with 4 overtime goals, leading Mark Scheifele, Johnny Gaudreau, and Jeff Skinner, who all have 3.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure Detroit also probably leads the league in overtime games played.
Probably.
Because with the whole system and mentality the Red Wings play with this year, the whole I'm trying to not lose mentality generally results in a lot of ties.
Who do you think leads the league? It's a 2-way tie at 7 goals for game-winning goals.
I'm going to take a wild stab and say Dylan Larkin's one of them.
No.
No? Okay. I'm going to say...
Dylan Larkin's game-winning goals are actually all overtime goals, so he only has 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Jeff Skinner.
Yep.
And I'm going to say Sean Monahan.
No, Elias Pettersson.
Oof.
Yeah.
I was in the right part of the right country there.
Yeah, you were. Alex Tuck of Vegas has 6. McDavid has 6. Gaudreau has 6. Yanni Gourde, not an all-star.
Remember that undrafted free agent that Tampa picked up because he was a guy who put up a ton of points in the queue as an overager? Yep.
28 points in 42 games this year. It's not bad. 5'9", 172 pounds. He's smaller than me.
Oh my god, he's smaller than me.
Yeah. Good on him. Tampa Bay. Oh, I still can't get over the fact that Braden Point's not in. Braden Point and Mitch Marner aren't in the All-Star. Is that vote over? I'm gonna do my Larkin.
I don't know,
right
but
now.
did you see the alliance that's been created?
No.
So it's been a alliance between the Red Wings, Canucks, Jets, and Capitals fans that they're all gonna vote for Larkin, Backstrom, Besser, and Laine.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's very like get around the electoral college by just committing your electoral college votes to the popular vote winner.
Honestly, this is the stuff about the All-Star game I like, though.
This is
hilarious. Like, this is fun. Like, you're going out with, like, non-rival teams, creating alliances and having fun with the fan vote. Yeah. And it's a fan vote for one player. It's not like you're electing the whole team, although I think the fans have far more credibility than the people actually picking the teams at this point. But yeah, no, this is fun. This is the type of All-Star stuff I like. Just like a few years ago when everybody pooled together to get John Scott into the All-Star game. It's hockey fans having fun.
Sorry, what's the alliance between?
Washington, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Detroit.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. Besser's great, Liney's great, Backstrom's great. I don't have to feel guilty about like voting at Keith Yandel in or anything like that.
No. Mark Giordano really deserves to be in that game,
Yeah,
right?
you will shut up and you will vote for Brock Besser.
All right, fine. Where were we talking? Oh, yeah, the Red Wings. So they have a game against Washington tonight, or actually 5 p.m., so not even tonight, just this afternoon. And then by the time we speak next, it will be... Hey, we might have a guest midweek.
Dope.
Yeah. I'll have to check in with them to see. By the time we speak again, Detroit will have played against Montreal on Tuesday, and that'll be either a Wednesday or a Thursday podcast. And then they have Winnipeg, Minnesota on Friday, Saturday. So
Yeah, see, I was reading something. Apparently, Detroit plays fewer games this month than any month in the last, 6 years.
2, 6,
They only play,
8,
10 games this month.
10 games, yeah.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, they were, according to that FSD stat a few weeks
Oh,
ago,
God.
they were second in the league in games played.
Oh,
so,
God. I tweeted out that graphic, and it was a list. Have we talked about this on air yet?
I don't know. I just assume it was games played and face-off percentage, but...
It was a list of, Red Wings stats and how they ranked in the league. And I saw I was cooking, and I was looked up at the TV, and I saw them post that statistic. I was like, they did not just freaking do that. And so I actually rewinded the stream on NHL, and they listed 6 stats. I'll read them from the bottom up. Penalty kill, 24th in the league. Power play percentage, 20th in the league. Goals against per game, tied for 25th in the league. Goals per game, 27th in the league. Win percentage, 28th in the league. The first stat they listed was games, as in games played. And then they listed them as tied for second in the league, as if that's anything you're ranked as. If you ever need to know how the Red Wings season is going, just look at that. That was something else.
The nice thing about having a light schedule this month, though, is because Detroit's position in the standings has been so skewed all year because they've played so many more games than everybody around them. By the end of the month, we'll have a pretty true representation of where they actually are at. Because even that game against Nashville was, their first win in 7 games? By the way, another interesting stat that just doesn't make any sense that they were showing during the broadcast. Over the last 9 games, the Detroit Red Wings are 8-1-0 against the Predators.
The Central Division rivalry lives on!
It makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
over the course of this time, the Predators have been good. This isn't like it's been the Red Wings beating up on the Senators for 5 years. They are legitimately owning one of the best teams in the entire NHL, and it makes no damn sense because it doesn't matter if it's in Detroit or Nashville.
Speaking of the Senators, and I guess Colorado, Senators are last in the league, and they're behind us by 4 points with 1 game in hand.
Oh,
Yeah, Ottawa real bad.
How is Ottawa worse than us? How is that possible?
Because Ottawa no longer has an Erik Karlsson.
Well, I guess Thomas Chabot's out right now.
Is he?
Yeah.
But to be fair, last year they had an Erik Karlsson and a Thomas Chabot.
True.
The funny thing about Nashville is there's no holdovers from those the teams when Detroit was in the Central. There's no Weber. It's pretty much just David Poile that the Red Wings are beating up on.
Pecorine.
Yeah. Who's 39 now?
Yeah.
And playing out of his mind?
Yeah, and also, again, it's not that Detroit had a fluky win against Nashville. They outshot them, they outplayed them, they actually deserved the win. Detroit went 50% on 2 2-on-0s that they had in a span of 3 minutes. And they tried the same play. Mantha tried the behind-the-back pass to Vanek, and Rene made a highlight poke check, and then Nyquist tried the behind-the-back pass to Bertuzzi that actually resulted in a goal. Nashville, what are you doing?
Yeah,
2 2-on-0s in a few minutes.
They're just screwing around until it matters. Well, let's look at the standings right now. Washington is in the lead in the Metro, which is always a tight... I've never seen... When was the last time we've had a runaway winner in the Metro? It seems like every seed is up for play up until the very end. Every single one. The Islanders are poised to be in a divisional seed right now with their games in hand. The Islanders.
The Islanders, who went from the worst defensive team, most goals against in the NHL last year, to I think the fewest this year.
Yeah,
with the same personnel. So I've discovered, I again, with my physics background, I can now decisively conclude that Barry Trotz definitively. That was
decisively, maybe. Also.
Decisively. Conclude that Barry Trotz is the best defensive coach in the NHL, and John Tavares is a defensive liability. Fight me, Leaf fans.
Okay, but talk for serious right now. John Tavares has never been renowned for his defensive play.
No, he hasn't, but he scored 27 goals this year, so I think we can forgive him.
Yeah, like I will never when Tavares went over.
Wait, Tavares has 27 this year?
Yeah, he's third or fourth in the league in goals.
He's playing with Mitch Marner.
This is the quietest 27 goals I've ever heard of.
Because you can very legitimately make the case he is the third best forward on his own team right now.
And because the only thing people care about now are Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner's contracts.
Yes,
so,
and because Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner might legitimately be better hockey players than John Tavares right now, which is...
That's exactly what you want if you're Toronto.
And here's the one thing I want, perfect transition to the next thing I want to talk about. The Leafs have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares all playing out of their mind. Morgan Rielly as arguably the frontrunner for the Norris Trophy this year. And they're still, 10 points behind Tampa Bay for the division lead?
Tampa Bay has 66 points in 42 games played. They lost to San Jose in regulation for the first time in that was the first regulation loss they had in 17 games. They are 10 points clear of Toronto, who's the next highest
team in the entire NHL.
And
Toronto's 10 points out of their division. I was reading something yesterday that actually made my jaw drop. Right now, Tampa Bay is on pace to win the President's Trophy by 20 points. They are on pace to shatter Detroit's all-time wins record. They are on pace to tie Montreal's all-time points record. They are very seriously making a case right now that they are going to be the greatest regular season team in the history of the NHL. There are a couple asterisks for those things because Tampa does have 3 shootout wins, so if they finish at their pace right now, Detroit's record technically would still be better, not counting shootouts. Again, with the shootouts, Montreal's record would still be better, but it's in a day and age of this type of parity and a salary cap, I think cancels those two facts out.
They're on pace for just under 129 points.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
110 points, and you're an elite team and a cup favorite. They're on pace for 19 more than that right now.
They are also on pace for almost 62.5 wins. Record 64? 62?
61.
Detroit?
Detroit. It's 61 or 62.
Wins, record, NHL, season. Yeah, it's a bad Google search. 62.
62.
Yeah, that happened in 95-96.
So Tampa is right on pace.
Yep. They have a plus 52 goal differential right now, which is 13 better than anyone else in the league, which is also Toronto.
And they're about halfway through the season, so their plus minus at the end of the season could be over 100.
For all this talk about Toronto not having defensive liabilities, they have 113 goals against to Tampa Bay's 124. Actually,
no, Toronto's been a fine defensive team this year.
Toronto has the 5th fewest goals against all year.
Yeah, they've gotten their crap together. I mean, it helps when Morgan Rielly's doing what Morgan Rielly's doing. But yeah, and the scary thing is, Tampa is, when Detroit in '96 was on pace for their record, that was a massive, massive story. People were talking about it from November on. Nobody's talking about Tampa. Not nobody, but not many.
That's what happens when you live in Florida or play in Florida, I guess.
That's exactly how Cooper wants it.
Yeah, 100%. Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos had staggering amounts of points in December, and again, was barely talked about.
Nikita Kucherov right now is on pace for 138 points.
Yes, but how would we know what Austin Matthews had for breakfast?
138 points. He has 50. He has 50 points in his last 23 games.
Yes.
We don't know.
But Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner were in a circus play or a Christmas play.
And we also don't know what Austin Matthews had for breakfast because Nikita Kucherov ate it.
Yes. Nikita Kucherov's second-round pick is on pace for 138. 138. The decimal comes after the number. That's a whole number. 138 points.
That's more than Applicator's ever had in his career.
That might actually be true. I'm going to double check that.
Oh, hold on. Let's take bets. Do you think it's more or less than Abdulkader's career total?
How
He's
many?
played for 10 years. I have to think it's like Abby's
It's got to be more.
Abdulkader's had to have.
You'd have to average like what'd you say, 138?
Yeah, he'd have to average like 13 points a year. There's no way.
Well, he definitely has more pimps.
138. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, he has 138 assists exactly. I gotta say.
Still though,
It's 243 points.
Wow.
Yeah, in 662 games.
Oh.
Third of a point per game. No, that's more than a third of a point per game.
it's not much more than a third of a point per game.
It's 0.367
Oh my god.
points per game.
Fun fact: Justin Abdulkader is on pace for just under 10 goals this year.
Hey,
Nice.
it's not bad.
Nice.
And oh my god, he's
Just
on,
under 25 points.
he's
Nice.
on pace for 25 points.
Nice.
Oh, let's not do that. Instead, let's talk trade deadline. We have pulled up here TSN Hockey's trade bait list just as a kind of template to go over.
Do you think if we just gave someone Evgeny Svechnikov, they would also take Justin Abdulkader?
Okay, here's the thing. Nick Jensen,
I don't care if we can or should. Would they?
No. Nick Jensen, and I've seen this talked about by people on Twitter as well, so I'm not trying to present this as a new or novel thought, but Nick Jensen probably at this point in the season has made a case as Detroit's best defenseman.
No.
I think he's been the most consistent.
Consistent,
And
I will
reliable.
give you. I will give you that statement, but I'm going to present my counter argument in 2 words. Dennis Cholowski.
Yeah, but Dennis Cholowski has had ups and downs.
Nick Jensen has scored goals in 1 game this year.
I'm talking
Which
defense.
means offensively he has not really contributed in like 42 games.
Okay, Nick Jensen also started off as a scratch, right?
Yes, and
Dennis
I'm not-
Cholowski has
I'm-
the privilege of a lot more.
To me, this is the perfect argument of do you take the flawed but dynamic player or do you take the steady sound player? And Detroit's philosophy with the Helm and Abdulkader contracts and Eriksson contracts is we'll take steady and sound and pay exorbitant amounts of money for it. I want dynamic.
The point I was trying to make is not that we should keep Jensen over Cholowski. No, it's
No, no,
different.
no.
It's that Jensen should be a pretty prominent trade piece for Detroit. He's not going to get the return that Nyquist will get.
I thought for a second that you were going to say maybe we should entertain the thought of re-signing him, and I was going to jump over the table with all the crap you've given me over saying that with Howard.
No, I don't
Listen,
think that.
we're a team that's not competing. We should evaluate a trade for almost any asset we have on the team minus 3 people probably.
You know,
that's probably 2 people more than that
Yeah,
conversation should go.
Cholowski and Larkin is basically my 2.
I think my list ends at Larkin. Like, I love Cholowski, but if someone's willing to offer us a really premium piece for him, I'm not that attached yet.
Yeah, true.
I swear that's a different Brad than we got at the beginning of the season. I was trying to say Cholowski's not untouchable, but you were.
I
feeling
am
him.
saying, like, we would have to win that trade so heavily to even entertain the possibility.
The price would be high because he's young, he's promising,
Yes.
and he fits into a lot of rosters. So it would cost a lot.
Yeah, and the thing is, we need top 2 defensemen. A team trading us for our number 1 defenseman right now is not going to give us a top 2 defenseman in return, which means we're probably taking a forward back. So unless that forward is akin to like an Elias Pettersson or someone of that caliber, it's not worth it. So it's never going to happen. But
So it's been rumored that Dougie Hamilton could be acquired from Carolina because they're desperate for scoring. Carolina's like 6th or 7th best in the league for goals allowed, and they still have a negative goal differential. That's how bad their scoring is. Would you trade Nyquist and a first for Dougie Hamilton?
I would not.
Would you trade Nyquist in a second?
I would not.
You wouldn't trade Nyquist in a second for
I would
Dougie
not.
Hamilton?
Okay.
Man, Detroit is a pretty boring city. I think Dougie Hamilton would be really bored pretty quick.
Dougie.
Yeah, but he's the guy who enjoys boring.
Yeah.
He likes boring as in like mentally stimulating, like going to a museum.
Detroit, the Detroit Institute of the Arts is a fantastic place to go. He would love that.
I mean, he played in Boston. There was probably a lot of historical things there.
Detroit has actually incredibly historic things, just not always for good reasons.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Dougie Hamilton is 27?
Yeah, something like that. He's close to that.
Dougie Hamilton's 25.
Oh,
Oh.
that changes my opinion. Yeah, Nyquist in a second I would do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I would not move the first because that could quite legitimately be Kakko or Jack Hughes, so that's insane.
Would you do it for like a 2021 first?
No.
No.
No firsts.
No first at all. Detroit's years away from competing. These are lottery picks for. Could you imagine if we traded Alexis Lafreniere for no? Because even
Why
at
don't we
that,
ask Ottawa fans, because they're going through that right now for this year.
the only reason and one of the reasons why I'm more comfortable saying I would even do Nyquist and second for Dougie Hamilton right now is because Detroit holds 2 seconds right now. We have the Islanders second, so sure, whatever. If we're picking 10 spots later, 15 spots later than we otherwise would have, fine. It's not devastating. I just think draft picks are too valuable for Detroit right now long term. And again, Hamilton's only 25, so you could get 10 good years out of him, which is great. Maybe 5 really good years. I don't know if Detroit's going to be realistically competing for a cup in 5 years, which is why I'm a little hesitant.
Now, Dougie Hamilton being on the trade board is, in my mind, immediately rockets him to the top of this list, which also features someone else who shouldn't be even entertained if I'm their coach or GM, which is Colton Parayko of the St. Louis Blues.
That is insane.
Right-handed shooting defenseman, same age as him. Similar output this year, not a lot of points, but great cap hit. Locked in for 3 more years at 5.5.
It's insane.
That
Both the same age too, right?
Yeah, same age. 25 years old. I don't know how and why you would trade an excellent right-handed shooting defenseman with a great cap in contract security. That just does not make sense.
And
to me.
there's 2 of them out there at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Again, as much as I'd love to have Detroit to have either or both of them, realistically, Detroit is not going to get either of them because even if Holland's calling, Detroit's not in a position to give bigger offers than teams who have bigger needs for them.
Brett Pesce, right-handed defenseman, 23 years old, signed $4 million a year for 5 more years.
That's he's not as good a player as Hamilton, but that's probably a better option just because of the contract control and the age and the cap hit.
Nyquist and Howard.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't think twice about that. Are you kidding?
Would you do the Nyquist in a second for Pesce?
Yeah, probably. Ideally, I'd like it to be the Islanders second, but again, he's a reliable defense. He's not as flashy. You're not going to get as much offensive out of him as you would at Hamilton or Parayko, but I mean, he's a right-handed, good shooting defenseman. Detroit is lacking those because again, Nick Jensen, who is on a contender, a really good 5th or 6th defenseman, has been playing 28 minutes a night lately in a bunch of games.
That's got to be a hint.
This is the best Nick Jensen is ever going to play. Sell high.
Yeah.
Ken Holland go, hi, this is our right-handed shooting defenseman who's been reliably playing 28 minutes a night for the last month. We'll take a 2nd-round pick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brendan Smith got a 2nd and a 3rd, and Nick Jensen right now is playing better than Brendan Smith ever played for the Red Wings.
Hello, Edmonton Oilers. We have a Nick Jensen available.
If you're Edmonton and you're trading for, haven't Petrovic and Manning looked terrible so far?
Yes,
Oh.
because they're not good defensemen.
Shocking no one.
How does no one close to Ken Holland say, hey, Charlie's doing some weird stuff and he's looking for good defensemen, he's just picking bad ones. Why don't you give him our decent ones and get like a lot out of him?
Because it's a race to the bottom and the other GMs got there first. It could have, for all we know, Ken Holland was on the phone and as soon as he saw the Petrovic deal go through, Ken Holland's call went through as Shirley was on the phone with Stambo.
Yeah. It seems like there's just a lot of, before it used to be nothing was moving in the direction Detroit needed things to be moving in for them to make trades. And now it just seems like everything's kind of moving around them. I don't understand why Holland has to wait until the deadline to...
I think it's a value thing right now. I think he just knows right now there's not a lot of teams desperate for the pieces he has available.
Goaltending, scoring,
Name
defense.
a team that's desperate for rental goalie right now. Name one.
Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, a team well out of the playoffs is looking for a rental.
Yeah, they need him. They want to make him in.
They would love to have Jimmy Howard to turn the season around, but they're not paying a premium to do it at this point.
No, and apparently Holland is holding firm on that first. So.
Yep, and again at the deadline,
God is dead.
First or a second for Howard, good. If the best return on Howard is a 3rd and we elect to re-sign him, I'm not devastated.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled with that.
I'm not thrilled with it, but you take the security of having your bridge goalie for the next 3 years versus a 10 to 15% chance at a prospect. That's kind of my second or first. Yeah, I'd be furious if Holland turned that down instead of moving Howard. But again, there's not. And even if you look at Nyquist, Nyquist is going to have demand. But as far as rental forwards go, he's what, 4th on the list of what teams would be eyeing right now at best. Teams are still waiting to see if Columbus are going to hold on to Panarin and Bobrovsky or if they're going to move them. Ottawa's still sitting there with Duchesne and Mark Stone, and then that doesn't even count the dozens of other forwards on other awful teams who are UFAs. Like, I think 4th for Nyquist is probably a little generous, but possible. But until those other 3 dominoes fall, Ken Holland's not getting a good return on Nyquist. He only got the insane return he did on Tatar because I'm pretty sure that trade was filed with the league office literally 90 seconds before the deadline. So Ken Holland's not. I feel like I defend him too much on here, but he's not in a position of strength right now with the assets he has. He needs those other dominoes to fall for forwards. He needs a team to really get desperate for a right-handed shooting defenseman, and he needs. And now again, with Hamilton and Pesce and Parayko being on the block, Jensen is what, the 9th best option for a right-handed shooting defenseman available. And again, with Howard, if a playoff team does not have a goalie get injured between now and the deadline, he's not getting a premium on Howard. He might not even be getting more than a 4th on Howard.
Are there any players here on the Red Wings besides Nyquist, Jensen, and Howard who could be moved?
I would have thought that there would have been, for whatever reason, some pretty serious interest in Trevor Daley. 1.5 years left on his contract, reasonable cap hit. He's won some cups. He has a good reputation around the league because apparently 30 other teams don't use analytics. But this broken foot, I think, is putting him out right up until the deadline. So that probably kiboshes that. There'll be players who have interest, but I don't think Ken Holland should move them because they won't get value. I'm sure Athanasiou is going to get some calls. Mike Green might get some calls, but he's got trade protection. I think everybody needs to get it out of their mind right now that Thomas Vanek is getting traded because he's got trade protection, and there's not a team in this league who's going to trade for him. He couldn't even get a draft pick last year with no trade protection, and he's having a worse season this season, so his trade value is exactly none right now.
No, it wants Vanek right now.
So yeah, no, not really. Not unless you're giving up a good young piece, which Detroit is the team that's trying to acquire good young pieces, so why in the hell would they move them? So yeah, it's pretty much Howard, Jensen, Nyquist, and an outside chance at Daley. Or maybe Mike Green's had enough of the scarf that says get me to Commander and waives his no trade clause. But again, the thing people forget about scenarios like this is people have families. Mike Green has a 2.5-year-old son. He's probably not in a position right now why he wants to uproot his family again and move. It's probably the whole reason he put trade protection in there. It's probably the whole reason he only waived to his trade clause last year to 2 teams because he's like, I'm either going to win a cup or I'm not going anywhere. So, yeah, there's no reality in which I see him waiving.
And with that, we are going to move into overtime. We're going to be taking questions first and foremost from our lovely Patreon patrons. All of our patrons get their comments read out on air, guaranteed as our way of saying thank you for supporting the show. We're going to start with Jeffrey Carlton, who says, Happy New Year, fellas. So how worried are we about Zadina? I know I'm being premature, but I'm having some bad feelings about him. I've always questioned the Red Wings scouting since the mid-2000s. Did they miss something in him that 3 other teams didn't? While 2018 appears to be a great draft, Zadina and Veleno basically fell to them. Seems like the Veleno might be the best pick for the Wings. I'm probably just being a pessimist anyway, so you can tell me so. Love the podcast, guys. Been listening since the beginning, and you never disappoint. Let's go Red Wings Fire Blast Show. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Sorry, what? Questioning the Red Wings scouting?
I think the Red Wings scouting has been the most reliable part of the organization.
Dylan Larkin was 15th overall, and some people considered him a reach at that point. Athanasiou was a 5th rounder. Nyquist was a 4th rounder. I think Mrazek, when we had him, was a 5th rounder. If you can get a starting goalie in the 5th, you're doing well. Who else there? There's a lot. Detroit has been striking a lot of gold at spots they should not be striking.
I think Athanasiou is a 4th rounder now.
4th or 5th. Doesn't make that big of a difference.
Yeah, 1 round. Yeah, I don't know. This guy's not falling on Zadina yet. You don't see what you want to see out of him. We haven't seen what we want to see out of him so far. That being said, with the expansion draft coming for Seattle and the way his contract will play, I'm not upset. We're not upset if he plays 9 or fewer games, because it actually makes things a lot easier.
If he plays 0 games this year at this point, I'm not devastated.
It's his rookie. It's his first year in the organization. Very few players come in and make an impact right away. We focus on the Pedersens and everyone else, but those aren't the norm. Those are exceptions. It does not necessarily put a cap on what his output could be in the future either.
A capo?
A capo cat.
Anyways, yeah, again, Zadina had a poor showing at the World Juniors, but context matters. He was playing on a line with, I know I beat this to death, with 2 guys who severely struggled to get him the puck, severely struggled to get the puck in general. He still had a couple chances, and he was going into that tournament fresh off an injury. Let's not forget, he played, did he even play a game in Grand Rapids after the injury before he went over to the juniors? So
maybe one.
Maybe one. So he was coming off an injury, so I'm doubting he was at 100%. Sky's not falling, but my expectations have tempered a little bit. I don't expect him to be a 40-50 goal scorer in the NHL anymore. I think that's reasonable, but yeah, I still expect him to be a good 30 goal, 30 assist guy in the league. He's still got that potential. He's still got that skill. He just might be closer to an Anthony Mantha than a David Pasternak, which is still
damn it.
Which is still a good player though, and you need them, and it's fine. If that's his floor, I'm fine with it.
I'm right now saying that I don't think anyone could reasonably put assigned stats to him. I don't think there's any projection. Don't get it in your head. If you're thinking, oh, 30 and 30, we wanted a 50-goal guy. Could very well be. Could be a 15-goal guy. This could be Nolan Patrick, right? And that's an indictment to Nolan Patrick that he doesn't deserve. He's also very young still. It's still so early.
Yeah, there's no his window of where he could land as an NHL player is still very broad. We don't know.
Marissa says, rank the Red Wings based on how much of a potty mouth you think they probably are. Ooh, Tyler Bertuzzi's definitely first.
Tyler Bertuzzi is 1 through 8 at least.
Beyond that, who would I think?
I feel like Anthony Mantha would have that French swear thing going.
Athanasiou for sure.
Athanasiou seems like a very polite guy, actually. I would not bet on him. Pretty soft-spoken, pretty polite.
Yeah, those are the ones who always do.
Larkin. I think Larkin has a little bit of fire to him.
Oh, he leads the team in penalty minutes this year, which shocked me.
He's a college kid.
It's because he's doing all his own fighting.
Yeah.
I like to think Howard would. And it's not at the other team, that's at his defenseman.
Yeah.
I feel like Howard doesn't swear at all.
No, he's got crazy eyes. He definitely swears.
Yeah.
Kaylin Wood says, way to go, Wings. Do you think PK will want to come to Detroit after he was absolutely dunked on last night? I mean, yikes. For someone so into fashion, pants around the ankles is not a good look. Kappa. Cheers, boys. Keep up the good work. That's hysterical. Mark Burnham says, is Jimmy the worst goalie in the league at playing the puck? It seems like more often than not, if he goes behind the net to move the puck, he causes a turnover. Love the guy, but dude needs to stay in this net if there is an opposing player within 30 meters. Metric there for you. Also, I've been pondering some taglines for the season. Here's what I have so far. Red Wings hockey. Our zone is your zone. Red Wings hockey. We didn't really want the puck anyway. Red Wings hockey. Developing your backup goalie since 2015. Jimmy Howard's always not been good at playing.
Yeah, but we just watched a game against Nashville, and if you want to see an adventure in goaltending and puck handling, just look at Pekka Rinne.
Yeah, he's a
I think they've actually told him just don't leave your crease at this point. Just don't. The other team could be coming down on a 3-on-0 with the puck behind the net, and your defenseman nowhere and say, just don't move. Stay there.
Jeff Chen says, hi guys, long time no comment. I thought it was very interesting. Brad had mentioned a couple episodes ago that Valtteri Filppula was one of his most liked Red Wings. I too was a big fan of Flip. He did, after all, win a cup with us. I think he was a perfect example of a top 6 forward and depth scorer, and was also defensively responsible. Just think, we let him leave because he's too expensive at 5x5. It was okay to sign an Abdulkader for way more than that.
Oh, it's worse than that.
And sign Red Wings legend Weiss for the same contract.
Yep.
I just want to bring this up in case any of you guys were thinking of getting soft on Holland.
I think the rumor was that Filppula didn't want to come back. I think Detroit offered him the same contract, but he just chose to leave. That was the rumor, so I don't know.
He wanted to be a featured player, more of a featured player rather than a second or third line guy.
Yeah.
Where is he now?
The Island.
Yeah. That didn't work.
Brendan B. Singer says, hello, I don't have much input on the Wings or any other hockey-related things. However, I did just buy 3 new hockey jerseys for myself for the new year and would like grades on each selection on a scale from 1 to 10. Dylan Larkin, white USA jersey. Ooh.
That's a 0.
That's an 8.
That's a 5. I respect the player, but as Canadians, I can't. I just can't.
Nah. Quinn Hughes, blue Michigan jersey. That's a 10.
That's a 10.
Austin Matthews, black Team North America jersey. That's also a 9.
Oh yeah, that's I'll give that an 8.5.
Brandon, I think your Dylan Larkin white USA jersey is fun. Jacob Lozen says, howdy guys. I figured after giving Evan so much shit for his oh gods per 60, I should start supporting you on here. Just wanted to say how awesome it is having you guys listen to on rides to and from work. I live in Grand Rapids and there's literally zero hockey talk on local radio. Also being from Grand Rapids, I work with dudes who went to school with Abby and Glendenning. All they talk about is how awesome at hockey those Muppets are at an NHL level. My coworkers are obviously true Michigander Michiganites, drinking the Fox Sports Detroit Kool-Aid, and it's just too much to handle.
Now hold on, I need to understand one.
Hey, they're tied for second in the league in games played.
Are they saying that they're terrific NHLers, or they were terrific when they were playing with them in high school? Because even guys like Justin Advocator and Luke Glendenning, who are very limited skill-wise in the NHL, would go out and score 900 goals in your average beer league.
Hot take, Brad, but I think he meant the former.
Okay.
Arjun Shankar
Says, I thought Chalosky was a European player, then I saw him in an interview and he was just talking with a Canadian accent and I got very confused. No, he's just from the... Yeah, I mean, British Columbia is like the west coast of...
He just crawled out of some sort of forest with a hockey stick.
Yeah. Honestly, you could have never told me that Dennis Chalosky was Canadian, and I watched an interview with him, I would have immediately guessed BC.
Yeah, BC is like the Europe of Canada, truly.
Yeah. Yeah, they are just...
And also
they are
the
laid
Asia
back people.
of Canada.
Also, yes.
As you guys know, I've been going to the Avs games a lot this year. One thing I've noticed watching both teams, when watching the Avs, you can really tell, oh, that's the first line, that's the second line, that's the third. Whereas with the Wings, it's really hard to figure out what the lines are. I think there's something to be said for just having some level of consistency in your lineup to getting everyone playing the best level. Don't understand why we shuffle so much. Another observation. Have you guys noticed that the Wings are constantly doing this no-look back pass shit? Mostly in the offensive zone, but still even a lot in the defensive zone, and it causes so many turnovers. They usually happen in battles along the boards where someone is going one way, they assume someone is behind them, and then chip the puck backwards instead of playing it forward or whatever. Drives me nuts. Don't know enough about hockey to know if that's the right thing to do or not. I'm going to do a quick aside. In the 09 playoffs, there's a pivotal game where Malkin was making a read on, because Detroit's been doing that for like years and years and years. And I was watching, it was like Malkin has been trying to pick this off the whole time, and he's going to do it. And he picked it off and went and scored on a... Detroit had a huge power play, a huge moment in the game, and Malkin went and scored on a shorthanded goal because he picked off that exact play. Drives me nuts. I hate it so much.
Are we talking on the breakout or in the cycle?
In the cycle.
In the cycle, yeah. So, is it the right play? Yes. Most teams employ this because it's just when you get into a jam in your own end, you're supposed to have set outlets. Players are supposed to go to certain areas of the ice to give you support if stuff like this happens. The Red Wings, bad at that. So it's not the puck carrier's fault that the guy who is supposed to be his outlet is not where he's supposed to be. Because like I said, Detroit's very good when the team first gets into the zone, but as soon as any pressure is applied and there's a bit of running around involved, then you have to adapt. The Red Wings are garbage at that. So the Red Wings know where their outlet's supposed to be, what they're supposed to do when they get clogged in a certain zone, and the outlets are never there. And then the other teams pick up on it, and they're just like, thank you, we'll take this back.
I think a few episodes back you pointed out how the FSD guys pick on the young guys a lot, but not the young guys a lot, but not, I think you meant to say the older guys. I think it's because they use those moments to educate young viewers / players, and maybe even the players themselves about what went wrong in the play and where the decision making failed, which is easier to teach a rookie than a vet. By the way, no one loves a game of hockey in Detroit more than Mickey Redmond. That man makes every broadcast he's part of 1,000 times better. He makes our lives 1,000 times better.
100%. But I don't follow. So are you saying that the young players in the Red Wings are watching the broadcast and learning from these mistakes? You can, if you wanted to teach the audience about what not to do in the game of hockey, you could literally just put an ISO cam on Abdelkader and just be like, okay, so on this shift, here are the 3 things he did wrong that you shouldn't do, kids.
As a last comment, I have a point of criticism. You guys change your take sometimes with the direction the wind is blowing, and you're always totally behind it. At the expansion draft, you guys lost your minds, as did everyone else, to be fair, that Howard was protected over Mrazek. Last year, you guys kept talking about Athanasiou being a trade piece, and this year you've said nothing to that effect. But you brought up about Mantha when he was having a rough start to the season. In my view, the young guys are all still trying to figure out how to learn and play together and effectively. Last year's Larkin sophomore slump. I think the other guys deserve more opportunity / chance before talking about being on the cutting block. Also, this is why I would be a terrible GM. Happy New Year's, boys. Vote Larkin for All-Star game.
So I think you're confused about us saying certain things, like coming up with opinions out of the blue. Last year it was reported everywhere that Athanasiou was a trade piece, so we were just commenting on that scenario because we all realistically knew you probably wouldn't get a big enough return to trade a young piece like that. And then Athanasiou's having a much better year this year, so of course you're not going to trade a better player. And I don't recall talking about actively trying to trade Manfro.
No.
I remember the rumors were out there, but...
And I think it's important to discern, like, we qualify a lot of things with, you know, no one could have predicted this, or we didn't predict this, but, like, just because we didn't... For example, Athanasiou, no one could have predicted him having this quality of a season. This kind of step, he just hadn't shown any indication of taking this kind of step, and there was a little bit of turmoil with the team, and the opportunity at the time was that he was going to walk. And honestly, at the time, the read was, if this guy's going to walk and he's not going to be a lot better than what he is now, then yeah, the take is you have to explore the options for a trade. But we don't pretend to be predictors or purveyors of knowledge moving into the future with any sense of consistency, because if we were, we'd be hired by NHL teams right now.
And also, one of the things I'm generally proud of us as a podcast is, as facts change, we change our opinion. We're not strong-headed and married to X, Y, and Z opinion just because that's an opinion we held 2 years ago. At the time, I defend my outrage over the Red Wings protecting Howard over
100%.
Mrazek was statistically the better goalie, like 8 years younger, was showing promise to be a future. It was asinine to protect the older goalie. Mrazek melted down since then. Howard's been fine. It still works out. I mean, even look at one opinion we can almost change from the beginning of the season is the prevailing feeling around that Calgary-Carolina trade was that, yeah, Calgary took a chance on Lindholm and Hannafin, but Carolina was getting the sure thing in the production that they would get out of Dougie Hamilton and Michael Furland. Well, spoiler, Elias Lindholm is among the league leaders in goals this year, and Noah Hannafin is on pace to outscore Dougie Hamilton this year. Things change. Players improve. You have to adapt. Because looking back at it now, Calgary ruined Carolina in that trade.
Yeah.
And I definitely did not say that a few months ago. So it's...
Brad's right. You have, like, I think, this is coming from three inherently stubborn people. You have to, if you're going to be on the air, being a talking head for twice a week in perpetuity, like you have to be able to change. I think changing with the wind isn't a bad thing, as long as it's based on facts and as long as you don't try to retcon what you said. I don't think we've ever tried. And if we have, it's just because we talk so much. Sometimes we forget. But if you want an example of bad takes that I've had early on in this podcast, we actually were on the air when the DeKaiser signing happened, when the Advocator signing happened. And I remember having you and I both, Brad, defended the DeKaiser signing, and I argued with you at the Advocator signing. At the time, you were like, that was bad, and I was like, maybe it's not so bad. Obviously, those were bad takes.
Oh, yeah.
But that's stuff you change with the facts, and we're not always right, but yeah.
Yeah, because in the game of hockey and hockey media, there's a lot of projection. Like for the DeKaiser one, for example, he was relatively young at the time, and we're like, yeah, there's room for improvement here based on his couple seasons and his sample size. Yeah, $5 million seems about right, and if he continues to improve like he should, it's a great contract. He's fallen off a cliff. We couldn't have seen that coming.
Oh God, no, yeah. The Advocator one was just a bad take.
Yeah, that one.
I don't understand why I had that take.
Yeah, from day one, you knew that one was going to be a dumpster fire.
That was bad. And you know, we come here to talk, and we're not going to get everything right. And I assure you, 99% of the time, if it seems like we're too changeable, it's because the facts have changed. And if it seems like we're hypocritical and like it's not even because the facts have changed, like it seems like we're kind of retconning what we said, I promise you it's just because we forgot. It's some like obscure, like we're talking about Michael Furland and how he is as like a left shooting forward or defense, whatever, and we just haven't touched on it and we forgot. Advanced Water says you have the power to make one trade that is plausible for the Wings. Who do you trade and who do we get back?
Plausible? Okay, that takes off.
I think one of the defense trades we talked about today for either Pesci or Hamilton, I would do either of those.
If I'm talking a plausible trade, best case scenario, and I'm going to put some context around it, is we trade Nyquist for a first rounder to a team like, I'm going to try and pick one here. San Jose. okay, hypothetically, who, I'm not saying San Jose is the team, but just a team like San Jose, who's expected to be pretty good this year, and we get the first round rid of them. They just implode the second half of the season, and that pick ends up around like 17 or 18.
Huh.
Rather than like 28 or 29. That's my dream, realistically, because there's not a whole lot of plausible scenarios here where Detroit's getting anything but draft picks in return. So, again, 2 months ago I would have said my dream would have been moving Howard to St. Louis for Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou. That is not happening now. So yeah, it's probably just going to be the highest first round pick we can get, and Nyquist is the best bet for that.
Dan Bell says, "Hey gents, finally caught up with the pods. Loved the rant on the Edmonton situation. How fun was the Nashville game to watch? I thought it was the most entertaining game they played this year."
Yep, I agree.
100%. Been a Wings fan since I was 5 and started playing hockey in 1990, and I'm 97% sure that Abby is the worst hockey player I've ever seen. On a side note, it's Narcan you give to opioid overdoses, if that's what you're referring to on the last pod. Yeah, it's Narcan, and naloxone is the brand name. Yeah.
There you go.
Michigan basketball is kicking ass, so it should be a fun season for them. Cheers. Adam Flat says, okay, not commented for a couple of pods. Which of the free agents this summer are your top 3 the Wings should take a run at? You can use factors like already received potential trades, / prospects, and potential drafts like Hughes or Kakko. Like factor in like where you think the team might be, like they drafted Hughes.
Okay. Okay, so my list in order, because obviously I'm going to take, as much as I would like to have a guy like Artemi Panarin, I know that his cap hit's probably going to be insane, and that's not something I want Detroit to take on. If Detroit's dipping deep into the free agent pool, I want it to be exclusively for centers or defensemen. So my list in order, and on what I roughly think their contract's going to look like, is Erik Karlsson, Tyler Myers, Matt Duchene.
Matt Duchene would be a huge, especially if it turns into a draft where Detroit doesn't get.
Yeah. I think Duchene's going to go $8 million a year, and he's going to be a solid point per game guy for about another 4 or 5 years. So you can stomach the last 3 years on that contract, where he's a little less, and I'm good with that. I think Tyler Myers is severely undervalued because of how good Winnipeg's defense is. He gets a little overshadowed. He has his oopsie moments, but his upside makes up for it. And I mean, Erik Karlsson is self-explanatory.
Adam Fleck continues to say, second, I see Larson is back to winning awards in net. Is he considered a blue chip prospect yet, or is he the best we have? Personally, I still feel KP is our current most viable option, but would love to trade with Buffalo and get Ullmark or the World Junior Championship winner with the great name.
It depends what you want to see in a 20-year-old goalie. Do you want to see a refined goalie, or do you want to see a very unpolished athletic goalie? If you want the unpolished, it's Petruzzelli. If you want a refined goalie, it's Larson. I tend to be higher on Larson right now. I also think we're sleeping on Jesper Eliasson in Sweden, who has been very good the last couple of years, but he hasn't been played at a truly high level yet because he's still in the junior leagues. So, yeah, in order, I'd probably go Larson, KP, Eliasson right now.
We're going to head over to our Reddit thread where we have time for a few of the questions. Mulv just says, sup fellas, how good honestly is Larkin? Early comparisons like him to Taves, who Dylan is outpacing in points at the moment. Still think that's fair? Don't forget the strong start Taves had to his career.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Jonathan Taves at the same point in his career, and I think that's fair. Taves was always a very, very good offensive player, but never hit the elite levels of the league. I think that's where Larkin is, and will be for the foreseeable future.
Tony O says, do you think as we get closer to the trade deadline that we'll be looking more for players, like young defensemen and prospects versus picks only? Also, any chance we look to make a lateral type trade, but just to move a big rig, etc. off the books?
That is not Ken Holland style, so I'm not betting on the lateral move. I think Holland would love to acquire young defensemen and young players, but those are not the type of players you generally get at the trade deadline, so I'm thinking it's going to be a whole of draft picks again. Which is fine, though. Again, once you get past the first round, draft picks are so hit and miss, you just need to have as many darts to throw at the board as you can.
Jacques Strap says, sup boys, glad you're back. What was your favorite Christmas gift Brad and Ryan received? I'm willing to bet Evan just received Cole, that filthy pigeon.
I got shoes.
I got nothing but gift cards, and that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, my parents were I keep telling my parents, don't buy me things. You've paid for my entire existence, and they just gave me money. I went to the casino at over the holidays in Windsor, I went to the Caesars, and there was a man at the poker tables who was just trying to donate money to me. It was hilarious. He was dressed with like dark sunglasses, a hoodie, like one earbud, like he was Phil Locke. Like, it's just so stupid. He was just giving me money.
I refuse to go in those poker rooms anymore. You can't. I just stick to the craps and blackjack table and the
Craps. Oh, big spender. Craps.
That's my favorite game, man. It is so fun.
It looks fun. I don't know how to play it. I just like watching it.
I'll take it one time and go. Once you understand the game, it is legitimately the most fun game at the casino. Because like that's the table where like generally when one person wins, everybody wins.
Yeah.
So that's when you see everybody cheering and high fiving and all that. That's that table.
We should do Winged Wheel podcast craps. I heard Barstool give Chicago its own channel if approached with the Winged Wheel pod sell out and get in their network. If this podcast could be hosted by a legit sports broadcasting network, obviously we'd have to consider the circumstances in any situation, what that would look like.
I know people have a lot of divisive opinions about Barstool. They either love them or hate them. Like I understand what they are. They're not necessarily my taste, but I don't despise them or dislike them. And if they invite us on, I'd happily do it.
Yeah, if someone wants to pay us full time to do this,
yeah,
our foremost thing is that we preserve what we've built in this podcast.
Yes, like I wouldn't change our style to conform to the Barstool way, but if like, hey, do you like us as we are? Yeah, great. Yeah, we're all in. Thank you.
We actually got approached recently by just a company that just kind of manages podcasts and like controls the hosting of them, and they said like hosting for free, we'll do all these services for you for free, but the thing is it then becomes their podcast, and not having the control and ownership over that without any of the like, we said no very quickly. So it's not the integrity of the show is what matters most, but the dream is for us to all be paid full time to talk hockey. Han Solo Mail says, "Sup guys? Scenario: the Wings finish 12th, win the lottery. Who do you take, Jack or Kakko?" Jack.
Yeah.
Yarvik7 says, "Hey guys, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. As our defensemen return to health, we will be at a spot where one of them has to move. Barring any more health issues, who gets traded or shipped to Grand Rapids? I can't see Holland dropping any of these veterans to Kaiser, Daly, Croner, or Harrison or Green. Daly's out for a while though, isn't he?
He'll be back before the end of the season. So again, it's unfortunate, but it's been kind of lucky that the Red Wings have not been fully healthy at any point on defense this year because I think Witkowski and Hronek get dropped. Cholowski keeps a spot in this lineup, so you're looking at Green, Cholowski, DeKaiser, Daly, Eriksson, Kronwall as your regular, Jensen, or whoever in the press box, and then Witkowski and Hronek are on their way to Grand Rapids.
Yeah, and I think the Jensen trade is going to be the most likely next move for the defensive corps.
Yeah, they're gonna attempt to trade a defenseman. It's probably gonna be Jensen because they are aware of the problem they have once they get fully healthy.
Ando772 says Larkin's streak's ended, so the fun is gone. So the question would be, who is a Sith and who would be a Jedi? Oh, the penultimate Jedi would be Larkin. The Sith, Tyler Bertuzzi, Athanasiou. Athanasiou has like the eyeshadow look of a Sith.
Would Bertuzzi be a Sith? I feel like he'd be the more like the Han Solo, the good guy with the attitude.
I'm sure you would piss off a lot of people with that take.
Yeah.
I mean, like, would the Sith not be the guys like Eriksson, Ablocator, Daly, the guys we can't stand?
No, because they're still good guys. Really, like those are all stand-up guys in the dressing room, right? So that's what it's about.
Yeah, but who wins?
The Sith, really. It seems like they're winning in most of the movies. Saxophone 18 says, which prospect that we've drafted outside of the first round do you think is the most likely to get a full-time spot in the roster? McIsaac. I think that has to be McIsaac right now.
Yeah, McIsaac or Lindstrom.
Yeah. Grand Moff Larkin says, forgot to mention it last time, but I've been a big fan since day one. Look forward to listening twice every week. Thanks for the great content. I don't have a question, but I felt bad for getting to add this when the last time all I did was point out that you said Shulak was the first D-man to score a breakaway goal when in fact Luke Witkowski scored one last year. Don't worry about that at all. That was actually a great little tidbit, and thank you for all of your support.
Well, to be fair, was Witkowski playing defense that game?
Yeah, it was hard to say.
I can't remember.
Witkowski, Luke Brent Burns Witkowski is what we kindly refer to him as. And with that, we're going to wrap up this weekend's episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. We have started the hashtag AskWWP, so if you're on Twitter and you want to ask questions, we are going to be taking a few Twitter questions for overtime. So hashtag ask WWP. Put your question out there. We'd like to thank everyone, all our listeners, all of our patrons, our name-level sponsors, Sean Levine, Chad Hiersack, Sky Carcass, Arjun Shanker, Clayton Van Dyken, Langabeer, Derek Shippert, Ryan Lewis, Kaylin Wood, Charlie Elkins, Stan Olson, Dan Bell, and Hannah Lee. Thank you all so much. If you guys want to support the show, go to @WingedWheelPod on Twitter. Follow that account, and then go to the bio. Our individual accounts are the really great follows. We love to interact with you on Twitter. Like us on Facebook, subscribe however you get your podcast. Leave us a rating wherever you can. iTunes is huge for us. And we will see you in the middle of the week.